I was recently offered a way to replace myself with an AI. It was pitched like a magic gumball machine. I could seat it with my past work, turn a few dials, and watch endless, perfectly finished scripts pour out. Socrates faced this exact dilemma 2,400 years ago. He wasn't worried about algorithms. He was worried about the invention of writing. He feared that externalizing our memory would provide the show of wisdom without the reality. Our tools accelerate progress by doing the work for us, but they simultaneously prevent us from knowing how the jobs were actually done. When we endlessly chase frictionless creation and outsource the struggle to find words, we risk losing the biological mechanism of thought itself. We already have physical evidence of this cognitive outsourcing. In the early 2000s, neuroscientists scanned London taxi drivers and found that when they switched to GPS navigation, the region of their brain responsible for spatial memory physically shrank. A recent paper in The Lancet showed similar atrophy in medicine. Doctors relying on AI assistance saw their own independent visual ability to spot cancer weaken after just 4 months. Tools like GPS and medical scanners only target highly specific regional skills in the brain. Large language models are different. An LLM is a general engine trained to predict the next word based on massive amounts of text. It compresses all human expression, language, logic, code, and art into a single predictive model. Because an LLM acts as a general engine for all thought, outsourcing our creativity to it threatens our overall cognitive capacity. In the 1920s, psychologist Lev Vygotsky proposed that internal thinking begins as external talking. We talk with people, and eventually we talk with ourselves. When a baby contorts its face and struggles to cry or babble out loud, it is doing necessary physical work. That outward friction eventually turns inward to form an inner dialogue. The physical struggle to speak creates the actual circuitry for thinking. Decades later, a 1978 memory experiment demonstrated what cognitive scientists call the generation effect. Researchers found that simply reading complete information off flashcards failed to encode it in the subject's brains. This neurological data visualization shows a brain model with multiple regions lighting up simultaneously. This widespread neural activation only happens when subjects are forced to generate a partial word from scratch. Memory and comprehension skyrocket because the struggle to generate missing information encodes it. The struggle to find the words is the biological mechanism of thinking. In 2025, MIT researchers asked students to write essays while wearing an EEG. For the students using ChatGPT, the data showed a dramatic drop in neural connectivity. Their brains physically dimmed while they worked. The behavioral consequences followed immediately. Minutes after finishing the task, 83% of the AI-assisted students could not recall a single specific sentence they had just written. While those AI-assisted essays were technically proficient and grammatically perfect, evaluators described them as hollow, soulless, and remarkably similar to each other. This diagram illustrates thought space as an infinite branching tree. Human thought is a uniquely winding pathway, driven by diverse life experiences. AI-generated pathways cluster tightly in the center. Predicting words based on historical data, AI abandons the outer branches of human possibility. Outsourcing thought to an algorithm dims the individual brain and collapses collective human expression into a banal echo of what has already been said. The MIT study contained a specific twist. The students who showed the highest brain connectivity, even higher than the human-only group, were the ones who generated their own outlines from scratch before ever turning to the AI. AI excels at convergent thinking, the refinement and execution of an idea. It lacks the divergent capacity required to generate truly novel starting points. An algorithm simply has no inbuilt curiosity. It cannot recreate the experience of wandering through the fog of a labyrinth, wrestling with confusion until it discovers an idea it wasn't looking for. To generate anything of value, the machine requires a uniquely human seed. It needs the biological fingerprint of your lived experience to point it in a meaningful direction. We are entering an economy where the cost of generating answers is dropping to zero. When answers are free, the execution of the work becomes a commodity. Because the machine can execute but cannot wander, the only remaining scarcity is the human question, the one born from the unique struggle of your own life. Finding that question is the work. Don't outsource the struggle.